Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome to the bonus show. I have another NYPD story here. Apparently, cops have barged into the home of James Jordan Sr., his family's home, looking for him more than a dozen times since he died in 2006. Essentially raiding the home of a dead man, looking for him over a dozen times. And, the man's family has to just keep telling them, here's the death certificate. He's not here. He died. And eventually it came to the point where she basically stapled the death certificate to the front door. I guess he had a couple arrests. He was arrested. His last arrest was in 1996 for turnstile jumping, I guess. But the cops keep ransacking the home, coming in, demanding to see him. What could possibly be the explanation for all of these repeated raids despite a valid death certificate?
I don't know. It's interesting that you mentioned the turnstile thing, because now that I live in New York City, this turnstile jumping thing is a big racial inequality thing in the city. And I know a bunch of, because my girlfriend is in the social work field here, I know a bunch of social workers, and many of them talk about how some of them who are white say, my kids jump the turnstiles. My 14-year-old kids will jump the turnstiles. The rule in New York is if you're taller than the turnstile, you have to pay to get on the subway. Okay, if you're shorter than the turnstile, you're allowed to just go under it. And what I mean by that is there's a kind of counter where you swipe your card. If you're shorter than that, you're allowed to duck under the turnstile. Her 14-year-old kids are much taller than the turnstile. They're white. They jump it all the time. They've never once gotten in trouble for it. And a lot of the child clients of lots of social workers that I know who are the same age and are minorities are constantly getting hassled by the police and even getting brought downtown as it is when they jump the turnstiles. And it's one of these, it's yet another way in which there are different rules, unwritten rules, depending on, it might be race or it might be really more an issue of social class, right? Because the two, especially in big cities, can be very connected. So I'm interested in, it's interesting that jumping turnstiles was even a factor here, because it's pretty much accepted that you're disproportionately likely to get in trouble for jumping turnstiles if you're not white in New York City.
His son is also named James Jordan Jr., and he was arrested at one point when he told the police his name, because I guess they thought he was the guy they were looking for. And there's crazy stuff. I don't know how this happens this many times. Elizabeth Warren is making headlines again. In an interview, she came right out and said that that Obama and the Obama administration, Obama's people, chose Wall Street over American families. Which, would you agree with, David? Would you agree with that?
I mean, on many issues, yeah, right? President Obama, just like many presidents past and senators and members of Congress, is the standard plutocratic, status quo, money in politics, get my big donors positions as ambassadors type of guy. And even the Affordable Care Act, although it does do much good, is still a tip of the hat to these for-profit insurers, which are hugely connected to Wall Street. And it's a lot of the same stuff on a lot of issues, sure.
All right. But then she turned right around and praised Obama for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which she was a big part of. So I guess, I don't know, does that even out?
Yeah, well, it's, conservatives are jumping on this like she's being wishy-washy. It should just be okay to point out the good things someone does and the bad things someone does, right? It's called flip-flopping sometimes, when what we're really talking about is nobody is all good. On this program, sometimes we'll mess up a story. Sometimes we'll do a story and the main point we're trying to drive home isn't as strong as maybe it could be. Nobody is right 100% of the time, in my experience. And just because that's the case, we shouldn't have this ridiculous system where you're either called a flip-flopper or said that you're just playing both sides of the field in some kind of unfair manner. I mean, we should be able to issue systemic criticisms while still issuing individual praise when praise is warranted.
All right. You heard it from DP, laying down the law. There it is. Elizabeth Warren. Will she run for president? I don't think so. Will she be a VP pick? Maybe.
We're trying to get her back on the show. She was last on the program before she was senator. And I know what's going on. As soon as they become elected officials, all of a sudden they only do big corporate media shows. But I am in touch with one of her staffers who has been a contact of mine for more than 5 years. And he says he's going to help us get her back on. And if and when that gets scheduled, of course, we're going to go to our audience for questions for her.
No doubt. I do think that she will be, for whoever the wins the Democratic primary, I think she will be possibly the number 1 or 2 VP pick. And I think it would be a very wise decision.
Wow.
Politically, but I do like her too. But okay, she does have some skeletons in her closet though. Let's talk about crowdfunded assassination. This is unreal. This is a website that essentially is for, just that, crowdfunded assassination. Apparently, this website has raised $125,000. And it's basically, what is it? Well, there's a list of names on the website. And I guess people can contribute to the pool that will allow for these people to be assassinated. But people can also bet on which person will be assassinated first. And for those people, that money goes into a separate pool. And if the person is right, or the person who is the closest, I guess, gets all that money when that person is assassinated. Now, when I first read about this, I immediately thought that it was just basically a scam, just a way to make money. Would that be your guess?
Well, it could be. At the same time, give us a sense of some of the people that are on there. My concern would be that when it gets really high, when the amount of money behind one person getting assassinated gets really high, wouldn't it create an incentive to actually have them bumped off?
That is exactly it. So I'm thinking to myself, well, if there are people putting money into a pool, betting on when this person is going to get whacked, that's just it. It incentivizes those people who have an investment, not necessarily any professional hitmen of any sort, but it might lead to an assassination attempt or an assassination. And I just find it fascinating that there are actually people contributing to this website. I mean, knowing that your digital footprint or digital fingerprint is pretty much everywhere, who is it that thinks it would be a good idea to contribute to this site, right?
Yeah, it's the last thing I'd be doing. Who are some of the people, though, that are the most, the big money, the smart money is behind on being assassinated first?
Let's see. The report states that the public figure with the $126,000 bounty on their head is not a political figure, but declined to name the target to avoid bringing additional attention to the attempt on their life. Yeah, it seems like it seems like the names aren't really released, and I didn't try to find and access this particular website if it's even still up. Obviously, there was action taken against this.
I want to get on there and check this out. It's piqued my curiosity to the point where I need to see this for myself. What is the name of the website?
That I don't really even know if it tells you the name of the website. They're really trying not to bring too much traffic and attention to it. Yeah, we don't have the exact name of the website. It shouldn't be too hard to just Google this story and try and track it down, though. If I doubt you're going to come up with much other than this if you type in crowdfunded assassination on Google. But there it is. That's That's what we've come to. It's on the internet. It's traveling through the tubes.
I wonder if it's considered like in other words, if a lot of people are saying you might be assassinated, does it mean that you're doing big things? Is it in any way a compliment that a lot of people think that there are those who would want to kill you?
Well, I guess it could be a compliment. I'm sure there are some people on the list who might be generally considered terrible people across the board by most people in the world. I don't know. There are probably people who are doing great things that adversely affects certain people with lots of money, for example. I could think of a million situations like that. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. It's hopefully we're not on the list. That's all I have to say about it.
And it's also an assassination pool, not a death pool. What happens if the person dies but was not assassinated?
Good question. Very good question. Maybe then this website or business keeps all the money. That's what I would do if I were running a business that's shady. But that's all we got for today.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.